Ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good Thursday morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube and Twitch. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. Sparky, good morning.
Happy Friday Eve.
Happy Friday Eve, my friend. Happy day 2 of the NBA draft. Let them know what they're in for.
We'll recap draft day 1, go through our predictions and some NBA news, trade talk. We'll, with a lot of the major sports, not baseball, but pretty much in break or the off season, it'll be a lot of miscellaneous news for the next few weeks, but we'll talk about some NFL news, some baseball news, some NHL news. We got a little bit of everything for you today, so feel free, call or text in anytime during the show at 661-842-2000. And we've got a jam-packed show for you today and tomorrow, as we'll welcome in Evan Cohen from the show you were just listening to, Unsportsmanlike. And then we'll have Chris Flail coming in tomorrow to predict the Night of Champions, as we will be out next Friday for the 4th of July.
You know what? And I hope everybody enjoys their 4th of July next week. If you are celebrating or not, I'll leave it at that. But we have plenty of great baseball for you to check out right here on ESPN Bakersfield over the weekend as well. You can check out the St. Louis Cardinals at the Guardians this Saturday. I believe that'll start at 12:30 p.m. as well as on Sunday. We got the Minnesota Twins taking on the number 1 team in baseball right now, the Detroit Tigers at Detroit. Yeah, believe it or not.
What?
Believe it or not, the Tigers technically have the best record in baseball. And honestly, it's no fluke. It's not. They look good.
Yeah,
now, can they win the whole dang thing? Jury's still out. You still have to get through the Dodgers. I'm sorry. And at this point, until anybody can prove to me you can consistently beat the Dodgers, it's really hard for me to say anybody but the Dodgers is a shoe-in for anything. So we will see what we will see. I like seeing teams like Detroit win, though. And honestly, Detroit sports right now is thriving. The Lions are back. The Tigers are back. Oh, my. Oh, my.
Not the Pistons.
Not the Pistons. No. Well, actually, you know what, though?
And they the number 6 seed this year?
They stepped up. They had a year under JB Bickerstaff. And, I mean, next year could be just as good, if not better. JB led Cleveland to pretty much where they are now. I love Kenny Atkinson, but let's be honest, JB Bickerstaff is the reason Cleveland is where they are right now.
Built that staff.
Exactly. So we'll see how that goes. But let's talk about the NBA draft last night, because obviously the first couple picks went pretty close to what we had. I know actually, did you have Khan going number 4?
I didn't. I had 5 of the 10.
Did you really?
But
I didn't count mine.
I had 4 and 5 swapped. So
that's right.
I had Ace going to Charlotte, but yeah, I mean it was pretty close. But after that, I was way off.
Right. Well, I mean, again, were you kind of surprised that we didn't see more movement in the top part of this draft? We saw a ton of it at the bottom of it. And honestly, I when I looked at the draft board before people were drafting on ESPN, you could see where each of these draft picks came from. I would love to put up an actual screenshot of what ESPN looked like last night, because I'm pretty sure picks 13 through I'm pretty sure 30. I think 13 through 30 were were traded more than once. So these picks had been swapped around so many times by these teams. And honestly, it was an interesting draft going down the line. I really can't say anybody didn't land where they probably should have, though.
Yeah, you had it on my Bulls. I know at 12, I was like, all right, well, Derek Queen is still out there. And of course, they picked the big boy from France that you had predicted before.
Shockingly, well, Noah Esengu is a very interesting pick. I like it, but I'm not gonna lie to you. When they were up and Derek Queen was on the board, I was like, oh, Sparky might be right. Sparky might have called this one. And this one, the only ones that I think we need to actually mention, Igor Demin from BYU. I did not expect him to go top 10, to be honest with you. I thought he was going to go somewhere between maybe that Hawks pick at 13, anywhere down to maybe the Washington pick at 18, depending on who Washington was eyeing at the number 6 pick. Obviously, Washington taking Trey Johnson probably wiped out that thought of taking anybody like Igor in the next pick. But can we all come together and just laugh? Just laugh at Colin Murray Boyles.
Really? Yeah, because he did not look happy.
Colin Murray Boyles. Or Murray Boyles. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. I apologize if I got that wrong. Young man, you learned a very valuable lesson last night. A very, very valuable lesson. And that's that you forever, from here on out, dude, have a camera on your face. Does not matter who you're playing. Doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter if you're on or off the court. You now have a camera pointed directly at your face 24/7, 365. That was hilarious. For the number 9 pick to come across and it be Toronto. And mind you, every mock draft I saw had Toronto taking Colin at number 9. So this isn't a surprise to anyone except for Colin, who clearly did not want to go to Toronto. Or at least that's what you showed the world last night when you dropped a massive F-bomb on television.
Well, what the feed I was watching just said that he wanted to play in the U.S. He wanted to stay in the States. So he was not happy.
Look, brother, I get that. I totally do. But can we not at this point just make an extension of Toronto to America? I know it's not America, but we have Toronto in dang near every single league. Every single one outside of football. And honestly, it's coming. They're coming. There's going to be a Toronto football team very soon. I promise. So at this point, like, we got to stop looking. I know you're in Canada and it's different out there. I do. I mean, Chris Bosch has talked about it. I mean, even the television is different out there. It's really like, it's wild how like two sides of the coin it can be when it comes to Canada and America. But you're still on television. If you're not happy about it, I understand. Do you think every single kid that got drafted last night wanted to go to the team he got drafted to? No. But did any of them like unexpectedly go, like
explicit?
Exactly. No, none of them did, dude, except you. So it's like, oh, brother.
I mean, it was the same thing. We didn't see that out of Ace Bailey because obviously he didn't want to be in Utah.
Okay, yeah, and that's the funny part about this. Let's talk about that because I was kind of right without being right. I talked about how Utah was going to take the best player on the board at this point, and I did say if Ace Bailey was on the board, it was going to happen. But I also read right before the draft that there was a second team that Ace Bailey shut down a workout for,
and it was
the Utah Jazz. I said, oh, brother. But this time, unlike Philadelphia, Utah said, we don't care. We're taking you whether you want to be here or not. And honestly, I respect him for it. And I also respect Ace Bailey for not telling him no. Because here's the thing. He could have said no. Much like every other draft pick, he could have, like, the minute they picked up the phone and said, this is blah, blah, blah from Utah. We're about to take you at 5. He could have said, nah, don't do that. I don't want to play for you.
Well, this was the ESPN NBA expert, John Givney, on that Ace pick.
Ace Bailey did not work out for a single NBA team. He's the only U.S. prospect that declined to do so. This was not one of his preferred destinations, Utah. He was hoping to get to either Washington, New Orleans, or Brooklyn. The Utah Jazz selected Ace Bailey knowing that. This is a little bit of a stunner, but if you think about it, this is an outstanding place for Ace Bailey. They have a wide open wing situation. They have a huge need for a star in his mold. They have an outstanding coaching staff. I think Ace Bailey is going to recover from this very quickly and realize that he landed in an outstanding situation with the Utah Jazz. It just shows you there's only so much an agent can control in this process. If an NBA team decides they're going to take Ace Bailey, that's exactly what happened. And this is the first move that Austin Ainge has made as a head decision maker in the NBA, and it's a big one.
Honestly, I think this is going to be a great pick for them overall. It's not going to look good in the first year. It's just not. But that's because Ace Bailey is really a prospect in the more fundamental term of it. He still isn't his full basketball self yet. He's going to get so much better over his career. And honestly, if Utah can convince him to stay there long term, along with some other key pieces, it could be a good match
fit.
for him. Especially since, like I said yesterday, Utah got screwed at a Cooper Flag.
They should have, yeah.
Screwed at a Cooper Flag. We everybody could sit there and say this, that, or the other about, oh, Dallas got that. No,
yeah, that was Freddie and Harry were going over that, and they were getting heated because they were going back 30 years.
Yep.
That this isn't a big surprise.
No.
Even brought up Cleveland.
Yep.
When the LeBron trade.
Oh, I will be the first one to say that. Well, not the LeBron trade. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, the LeBron trade with Wiggins and all of that type of stuff. 100% agree with that. But if you really look at it, Cleveland got multiple first-round picks where we got Kyrie Irving. We got Anthony Bennett. Thank God he's no longer with the team. Don't get me started on Anthony Bennett. Along with many other situations where we really should not have had the first overall pick either. That's why I sit there and say that this entire, conspiracy theory, if you want to call it that, isn't a conspiracy theory. It's legit. The NBA skews their draft sometimes. Victor Wembanyama last year going to the Spurs, or I'm sorry, not last year, a couple years ago going to the Spurs, probably was skewed by the NBA. Sorry, it more than likely was.
Yeah, I mean, it goes all the way back to the Knicks with Patrick Ewing, and
Yep.
And then the story where they did envelopes, that there was a frozen envelope.
Oh no!
So the owner would know which one to grab. I mean, it goes way back.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not something that's out of the ordinary, but that's why I kind of believed at the time when we talked about this yesterday during our mock that Utah is taking literally the best player they could possibly get, no matter who it was.
As they should.
As it was Ace Bailey, Con Knoopel, whatever. They're sitting there thinking we got screwed out of the generational player this year, so we need to pick somebody that's going to be the next best thing. They got Ace Bailey, who honestly could technically be the second best player, if not the third best in this draft. I'm not going to say he's better than Cooper because he's not.
I was going to say, out of the just the first round, aside from Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper, is there anybody that you could think is going to just step in day one and contribute?
That's such a good question, and I don't know.
Well, I bring this up because there was another question I was going to bounce off you was, are they done? Because there was a lot of talk in Unsportsmanlike this morning is that a lot of these picks were picks for pretty much trade bait.
Well, yeah. Well, that's possibility as well. Because, I think that also might have been on the table for Utah when it came to Ace Bailey, knowing that the next 3 teams in the draft would all be wanting the guy at the same time. But I don't know if you're going to trade the draft pick now that you've already
picked him.
Yeah, picked him, and you are now going to have some sort of connection with the kid. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen on draft night.
You would think, right?
Much like the Memphis trade and stuff like that, who actually, I think that is one, Cedric Coward going to Memphis. That's going to be a good pickup.
Well, let's take our first break. We do have a text coming in talking about the NBA draft, and we'll talk about that and a little bit more right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. One thing we got to talk about before we get out of the draft, the biggest shock to me, at least of night one, Brooklyn kept all 5 of the picks. They didn't trade a single one. And 4 of them, they took guards. And the big man from Michigan. Actually, was a Danny Wolf pick was interesting. I thought that was a good fit for them. But 4 guards, 2 European, 2 American. This is going to be interesting in Brooklyn next year, especially since they still have to figure out what's going on with their 2 studs of Johnson and oh Lord, now I'm forgetting the name of the first guy, but Cam Thomas. And honestly, this could be an interesting fit, especially since that team can't seem to figure out who they want at a point guard. Letting D'Angelo Russell go now, who may end up in Dallas, from what we understand. That's a growing interest there. And this could be very interesting going forward. I don't know if Brooklyn. I genuinely thought Brooklyn was going to package some of these up and try to trade for somebody, though.
I mean, we can still see some trades. I know this morning that the Giannis talk they're saying it still can happen. I also heard the opposite of saying, Milwaukee might be working on just trying to bring in another star to, to prove to Giannis that they're not just,
I was
waiting a year.
Just about to ask that, though, to you. Like, do you think it was a missed opportunity for them not to make a trade at some point before the draft last night?
I thought it was going to be a done deal. And I unless, these were picks that were set up knowing which players that Milwaukee wanted or needed in this trade, or, it's going to happen soon. I mean, I think we're 2 weeks before free agency officially opens. And I know a lot of these teams are trying to lock these trades in, which brings up the other question. Do you think Boston is done, shipping their players out? Because I know, which I can go to the clip that Shams was talking about, that, the phones are, ringing off the hook, because not only Jalen, but some other players that Boston might be shopping.
It means them phone lines are ringing in Boston. My understanding is the Celtics are getting offers, calls on both Jaylen Brown and Derek White. The Celtics have high price thresholds for both players. We know how great Jaylen Brown and Derek White are. So I'm sure they're getting some massive offers, some pretty big time calls as well. Their preference has been to keep both players, but this is a team that's still in the first apron, still a luxury tax team, still dealing with the uncertainty of Jason Tatum's status next season. So at minimum, I expect Sam Hauser and Fernie Simons as names that will be discussed. Will a team match that price threshold that the Celtics, I'm told, have set around the league for Jaylen Brown and Derek White to be able to get them? They are listening, but will a team get there? Just in the span of the last 2 days, Scott, though, they've shed $180 million in luxury tax savings. They've gotten out of the second apron, but with a season next year full of uncertainty, just how much do they want to get out of these aprons and the taxes?
That's the big question to me, is if you are willing to just eat it at this point. You know what I mean? You've already kind of moved out of the danger zone. Now you're in the yellow. Saving $180 million on your tax cap is going to be real nice, but the growing rumor that I keep hearing is that a movement of Jalen is more likely than a movement of Derek, which is wild to me.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's, I think, because that's always been like a growing media talking point. They always try to pull the Jalen and Jason against each other. Like, you can't have 2 stars on the team. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. LeBron and Dwayne played together. You could totally do it. Stop pretending like you can't. That's why, honestly, I don't think Boston moves either of them.
I wouldn't.
I don't think they're done in a sense of they're going to make a lot of free agency moves here or try to structure some stuff and move maybe contracts around. But you're already just sitting there waiting for Jason to come back to fill his spot. I don't know if you really need to make any drastic moves to stay at least in the playoff hunt for the East. Because let's be honest, if you're going to talk about which side's more difficult to stay atop of, it's definitely the West. I'm not expecting the Thunder to repeat next year at all because there are so many teams in the West right now that could easily come up and put up a fight against them, including the Denver Nuggets next year, who, let's not forget, took them to 7 while also being in turmoil of losing their head coach and not really knowing the direction of where the team was going to go. So if they can be anywhere near as good as they were this year, they could take them to 7 again next year and probably win. So the East is much easier to stay afloat. So if I'm Boston, I say keep Jalen for sure because you need a star to play around, and he has
That's gonna be the guy.
proven. Yeah, he's proven he could be that guy. So I think you keep him. You could probably keep White too because he's a great point guard to keep around, and honestly has been shown to be a pretty good Robin to Jalen's Batman. And then once Jason comes back, now you're in full swing with a big 3 at least, or a semi big 3 that can compete in the East.
Well, the text we had regarding the draft said, was it me or was there just a few dudes drafted that were not happy about where they were drafted? And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the Toronto pick.
Everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, there are a lot of draft picks that don't want to go where they're drafted. Don't get me wrong. Most of these kids just want to hear their name called. Like, that's more what it's about. But there are a handful that are interesting to me. One of them being Jason Richardson's son going to Orlando, Jace. I think that's going to be a pretty cool callback. Obviously, his dad played there for a little bit. But most of these guys, especially in the later rounds in the first round, let's not forget, they're still going to have an uphill battle to even make the team, let alone get a starting job. There are certain players I think you're going to walk into a starting job really, like Kaman Mulich or Maluich, I'm sorry, from Duke, the big man that's going to Phoenix. You're most likely going to move into somewhat of a key role on that team because they need big men, as they traded for yesterday, as they got Robert Williams as well. I think that they're making necessary moves. It's just there's not going to be a lot of these guys that are just going to walk into these teams and be pivotal players. You're going to have an uphill battle with a lot of them. So
and the more I looked at, the Cooper Flag pick, which, I mean, they got a gift from the NBA in the first place, but now Kyrie came out yesterday, said that he's planning on coming back right after the All-Star break. So he was hoping that they'll be, 100% right after the All-Star break. And I was looking at the rookie deals. Cooper Flag could make close to $1 billion in the NBA by the time he's 32 years old. His rookie deal is worth $62 million. And
wasn't Dylan Harper's like in 56 or something? Like, it's more than his dad made in his entire
career. But it just shows. And then they add the 30% Supermax extensions, which would be the first one would be close to $360 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one would be close to $510 million. So welcome to the NBA.
I mean, again, if this is barring anything happening, again, knock on wood, never want that to happen, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cash for the kid, and good for him, honestly. But dude, these kids that are coming into the league now, as young as they are too, I mean, we've talked about it so much that it's very pressure filled when you go into a professional light like this and you get paid millions upon millions of dollars. I mean, half of these first 10 picks, actually more than half, are 19 or under. So imagine being that with $56 million in your bank.
You better grow up quick and get you a financial advisor.
Well, Cooper Flag, it seems to me, has there's no reason for me to believe he isn't a mature enough person to handle this, especially being a freshman who should have been a senior in high school. But other players, obviously, we've seen down the line. I'm just hoping and praying that we don't see this in this draft class because there's a lot of talent here, especially in the top 10. And there's a lot of high ceilings. And we could see some really, really cool players develop into some really great athletes in the NBA if we just keep that afloat.
And I saw the Suns making some moves, landing the 7-foot center Mark Williams from the Hornets.
That's what it is. Mark Williams. I'm sorry. I think I said Greg Williams earlier.
That is I mean, they're doing a lot of business. I know they
I told you can't have 4 shooting guards and a center. It's not going to work. You had to have big men. They got the kid from Duke, which I was really excited to see as well. So you got a handful of big men now that could probably hold it down for you. And honestly, it's a good sign as well. That's a team I don't think is done though. We're gonna see a trade from them, either getting Beal out of there and moving on from his large contract, or Devin Booker. And I really would hate to see that, but it's also a possibility.
The other draft text we had is what the hell was that pick from Portland? I think that was when I was driving home. I was listening to it right here. But they drafted a big boy, didn't they?
Well, which one are we talking about here? Because oh no, I'm sorry. It must have been the trade when they traded from Memphis or something like that. Because I know the pick that they had taken, Cedric Coward, is headed to Memphis. But I'm not sure. Oh no, there we go. Yang Henson, the center from China. That's what it is. I'm not sure. Okay, so I've heard this kid's name. I need to stop calling him kids. I've heard this guy's name multiple times since he's been drafted. I'm not sure what the story is around him, though. I won't lie to you. I need to actually dive into this and see what his strengths and weaknesses are. I didn't get a chance to really dive into a lot of the European players.
What I heard on ESPN last night while they did the pick, they were saying, "Wow, he wasn't expected to be this high of a pick." That a lot of them had him ranked 98 in their top 100.
Really?
But I don't know a lot about the kid. But
well, that's why I'm saying, like, I have to dive into more of the European players when they get to the league, because I do not follow European basketball that closely. I really don't, especially Chinese basketball, because it's so hard to find. But this kid's 7'1", 250 pounds. From what I see here, he's just slow-footed and questions his awareness, intensity, and ability to guard in space. So big man, but I mean, I feel like that's traditional weaknesses for big boys. Mm-hmm. You can easily get over that. Portland is just kind of out there right now. They're trying to figure out what they need to become successful. You still have a handful of guards. And honestly, now we've heard that Drew Holiday does not want to play there. So that's going to be a big question mark if he even suits up for them at all. There are a handful of teams in the NBA that are in very dire situations right now, just trying to figure it out.
So many unhappy players.
I know. But again,
look at your bank account. But we'll take a break. We'll get into the Lakers Heat trade talk, and the Knicks lined up another coach to interview. The Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. So diving into this Portland pick a little bit more, just because I was curious.
Yeah.
Apparently, the kid had a great showing at the combine, which is why he got drafted so high. And they are validating his 2 years in the Chinese CBA because of how well he played against some of these rookies. So that may be a little bit of an idea why they ended up going with this kid at 16 instead. But looking at their depth chart, because I was also curious, like I don't even remember who Portland really has right now because half their roster was injured last season. But let's not forget they have DeAndre Ayton on the team. They have Jeremy Grant on the team. They have Donovan Clanigan, the rookie they chose last year from UConn, on the team. You have Robert Williams on the team. So this kid's not even in. He's going to be 4th, 5th on the depth chart coming in. So I kind of agree with the texter. It's like, I don't know why you picked this. You had plenty of guards you could have chosen from, including Caspers from Illinois, who could have helped you a little bit. It's an interesting pick to me now that I actually look at it. So good looking on the texter to point that out, because I would not have even looked at their depth chart without actually looking into this a little bit more.
That's what he said. There was a crowded room. I didn't understand the pick.
Absolutely crowded room.
But some other rumors: the Lakers are reportedly discussing a Andrew Wiggins trade with Miami. Well,
who are you going to need to give up for him, though?
Right?
I'm like, look, I'm all for it if you're. The Lakers need to hold on to Austin Reeves. I'm just going to point that out right now. I think that Austin Reeves is a big piece of why this thing kind of works for you. But if you want to move it around and get a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who has been proven to be a solid two-way player in the league, go for it. But I wouldn't qualify that anywhere near as like a big 3 situation as you would have.
Well, they're saying that Miami is interested in Hakamura.
Rui, okay.
And they're pushing for second-year player Dalton in return.
Ooh, okay. You know what? I'd take that trade. I'd take that trade for 2 reasons. One, Andrew kind of plays the same thing that Rui does, just a little bit smaller. And 2, you didn't really lean on Dalton at all. Like there were moments of this season where I was wondering, why is the kid not in? Like this kid's a sharpshooter. I don't understand why the Lakers aren't utilizing that. And honestly, maybe that's the reason. Maybe they don't think that he could live up to the hype, or they just don't like the game. It doesn't fit with them right now. So I'd take the trade. If you need, and you need a little bit more power on that roster too to fill it out. So I think Andrew Wiggins might be a good 4th to put into that starting 5.
And going back to Giannis, I pulled this clip because Evan Cohen was talking about the Giannis and a surprise team that he thinks that should go after him. And, you know, I know the big names has been San Antonio, but what about Atlanta?
If you're the Atlanta Hawks, after that night last night, you should be on the phone with John Horst, the general manager of the Milwaukee Bucks, this morning. This is now a match that we did not see before last night, because the Atlanta Hawks are proving to be very smart in the way that they're operating.
Yes.
And the New Orleans Pelicans are proving to be very dumb in the way that they're operating. And the Milwaukee Bucks now have another option. If Giannis ever comes to them, which I don't think he will, but if he does, says, I'm interested, I think Atlanta has to be on the board now.
That's an interesting thought. I never really considered Atlanta being a player for him, but I could see that now with the movement for Porzingis and stuff. They're obviously willing to make some roster adjustments to make it work. And I know that they are willing to part with some of their young talent, especially some of the young big men. I'm trying to like put it in my head how Trey and Giannis would work together. You know what I mean? Because although Giannis is a very unselfish player, I feel Trey is too at moments. But obviously, you put another star next to Trey, it hasn't really worked very much or as often as it does usually with other stars. But maybe it's just because they've tried to put 2 guards together in Atlanta instead of a guard and a big man. So that's a very interesting thought.
I think it's the plus with Giannis that he is a complimented player. He's not like, you know, he can go in and pretty much fit in with a lot of teams.
He's not a me first guy.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. His game, it just speaks for itself. He's going to get his points and his rebounds, but you never would expect Giannis to come in and demand things, or at least not from the fans' perspective. Maybe
not
on
from
the
what
court,
we've seen.
Yeah. Maybe on the court, he's a completely different person, or behind closed doors, like in that locker room, maybe he's yelling, demanding the ball, saying, give it to me. I just, from what we've seen, I don't see it.
And do you think after we've already got through the first day of the draft, which we'll remind you, you can listen to draft day number 2 right here on ESPN Bakersfield. But do you see the chances kind of changing with the Giannis trade? Do you think the chances are better now that he stays with Milwaukee?
I think so.
Or it kind of gets more interesting that, okay, Milwaukee can see who they've drafted and they can go after.
That's an interesting thought, but I was genuinely shocked we didn't get a trade yesterday.
So did I. I had the radio on. I was like, come on.
I was sitting there all day thinking someone's going to break the news eventually. And then I can't remember there was some big trade news, but I don't even think it was the NBA. I think it was NHL yesterday or something.
The one we broke. Yeah.
The Kane one or something. But the likelihood of Milwaukee moving on from Giannis, it's a weird thought to even put out there, to be honest. It's like the Denver Nuggets moving on from Jokic, like we talked about yesterday, but it's always on the table. And that's what's scary about it, is that it's always there. So I say do it now, but that's also why I'm shocked they didn't do it this before the draft, because I thought for sure we were going to see some sort of trade either with San Antonio or Philadelphia or somebody in the top 10 at least for Giannis to have Milwaukee jump up in this draft class and get someone they can build around. So that's more my shock of all of it, but maybe this is a sign that they don't want to part with him at all, and they're trying to maybe figure out how they can lure him to stay rather than move on.
If you're Milwaukee GM, of course, you don't want to shop him if you don't have to.
Yeah, but not getting somebody to put around him isn't helping you. You know what I mean? Like, and who is the big free agent this year that you think is going to pull him in?
Well, before we get away from the NBA, there was some more news out of New York. The Knicks will now interview the Pelicans associate coach, James Borrego, as their 4th candidate for the vacant head coaching position.
Smart. Well, okay. Look, I read that they were going to reach out to this guy on The Athletic, but I thought after the 3rd interview with the Timberwolves assistant was going to be the wrap up. I genuinely did.
That's what I thought.
And when I saw 3rd interview, I was like, oh, okay, like they're done. Like this is it. They're not even going to call Borrego. But the fact that they're calling Borrego, I think, means that they're not completely sold on what they have. And I heard an interesting analogy on Rich Eisen that I have to bounce off you, because this was just, it made me laugh at the same time. But the Knicks moving on from Thibodeau is starting to look more and more stupid every day in the eyes of the media and stuff like that, especially since Brunson loved him. The team loved him. He obviously had great rapport with the media. And honestly, he brought you back. He really brought you to the Eastern Conference Finals, back-to-back 50-win years. Like, we can go down the line again.
Yeah.
But does it not kind of feel like this is just a really bad breakup and they're walking up to people, knocking on the door and saying, hey, I want to talk to your wife? You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't look at it like that, but yeah.
But like, that's what made me laugh about it, because I was like, they said it more like specifically, like Rich Eisen was making the joke. It's like, see, this is like if me and my wife broke up and then I went to Scarlett Johansson's house, knocked on the door and asked Colin Jost, hey, can I date your wife? Since she clearly likes Staten Island guys. Like, it totally makes sense. So I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think of it that way, but it's totally true. This is such a bad look for the Knicks organization as a whole. You literally did nothing but break up with your girlfriend because you thought there were going to be greener pastures on the other side.
Yeah, you had a better chance with somebody.
But all you did was knock on doors of people that were unavailable.
And if anything, you helped them get extensions. So they're probably sending flowers and thank you.
Exactly. So now you're at your slim pickings and you're not even, in my opinion, calling the guy that you should be calling.
Which scratches my head, because I was like, the only way that they're going to shut up the media and at least look like they had a plan is reaching out to Malone.
I'm shutting that down.
I haven't heard his name.
No, see, at this point, with how many coaches you've talked to,
he's probably going to tell you no.
Exactly. Malone will never take your call now because you never thought of him in the first place. And 2, the media will never take this as, oh yeah, that was always their plan. No, it wasn't. You've literally gone through about a dozen coaches now, and none of them were better than Tibbs. Yep. Not a single one. So what are we doing? So that's why I'm like, nah, no, it doesn't matter who they call at this point. Like, Borrego will probably be the one they land on, or the other
last one.
Yeah, God, it starts with an R, and I'm drawing a blank. I apologize.
Well, it
on my
was
notes,
also
but
the going into the draft until they showed with Kid sitting with his GM yesterday. They were keep pushing that, Kid was going to force his way out and go to New York. And after they showed him sitting with your boy Nico, they're like, nah,
That boy
it's not
funny.
going to happen. And that team now it looks even better. So
could you imagine? Now, hear me out on this. Dallas comes out and they stink. What if they suck? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want this to happen. I'm not coming out here and cursing them or anything. I like Anthony Davis. I like Kyrie Irving. I completely forget they have Clay on the team,
I always forget too.
And Cooper is a very likable guy.
I mean, just look at that team right now.
That's what I'm saying. And not to mention Lively at center. It's going to be great. You have Gafford coming back. All things are pointed forward for Dallas, for sure.
But karma, Nico.
But what if they suck?
Yeah.
What if something happens and they just suck? Because again, you just said it. No Kyrie till the All-Star game. That's halfway through the season. So scratch him off the roster right now. You're going to be leaning on Anthony Davis, who, let's be honest, the man's in street clothes just as much as he's in a basketball jersey sometimes. And a young Cooper Flag, who we are hopeful he's going to be great in the NBA, but we don't know yet. And an equally as injured Klay Thompson. What if they suck? Nobody really has pointed that out. And I was thinking about that last night. I was like, this is great for them. Good for you. Nico Harrison, this might actually save your job. But what if they still suck? Then what?
Let us know what you think. Could you imagine if that does happen?
I swear, if they come out and they are not 500 through 40 games, Nico Harrison is fired. And I think so is Jason Kidd.
I'm surprised he still has a job, but
Nico Harrison will be fired within the first 20 if this doesn't end up working out. I promise you.
And to wrap up the NBA talk, unless something breaks during the show, but I did read this morning that Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson are both on the trade block out in New York.
They're breaking up the Nova team.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying.
But why are you breaking up Bridges?
I mean, how can you put these players on a trade block if you don't have a coach?
Well, maybe that's why. I mean, we were talking about the Knicks and singing their praises last week and yesterday, saying that they could potentially be a top 3 team in the East if they just figured it out. Shoot, you could be the number 1 team in the East if you figured it out. But at this point, if you can't find a coach, I agree with you. There's no point in trading pieces away if there's no coach to play them.
Well, we'll wrap up this break some NFL news around the offseason right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. since we see Punk's walkout song?
Oh, I'll take that off the playlist.
Yeah, I love that song. That's a great song, but it used to be CM Punk's song. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, this is My Curse. I apologize. It's a completely different song. I have to show you. Yeah, My Fire Burns
Thankfully.
is the one that used to be his walkout song.
Well, NFL news broke this morning. The Buccaneers extended their head coach Bowles and their GM through the 2028 season.
Which, I mean, okay, 3-year extension for Bowles. Good for you. Solid and well deserved, obviously, for winning the division. And this is the 5th longest tenured GM in the NFL, if I'm not right. There's something like that. He's one of the longest guys. He hasn't leaked, has not gone anywhere in years. I mean, this is his tenure goes back to drafting Mike Evans.
I'm sure he's up there with Chris Greer, which is probably on his last leg.
Well, you never know.
We'll see. But I didn't notice that the Bucks have won 3 straight NFC South titles.
Yep. Don't get me started.
I forgot they're in the.
It's totally winnable.
Yes, it is.
I cannot believe that there's nobody. Look, man, the NFC South, although one of the weakest divisions right now in the NFL, used to be one of the most feared, and it bugs me to see it's in the state it's in. Only because I'm a Falcons fan and we should be winning every gosh dang year. How do we not beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? How? Every single year, every single record-breaking game for Atlanta, all of them. You could look at Kirk Cousins' passing records. You could look at the scoring records. All of them are against Tampa Bay. And it pains me, Sparky. It pains me like just like you hated to see the Bills anywhere near a championship. It pains me to see the Buccaneers or the Saints anywhere near a championship.
I mean, looking at their roster, they haven't really changed much.
No, they really haven't. They honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. If you're winning,
Tom Brady sets you up good, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. I mean, keep Godwin around, keep Mike Evans around. Tristan Wirfs is one of the best tackles in the NFL. Up and down the board, they're just consistent and they're consistently good. And honestly, I know I talk about how consistency is key for being a great and how people like Mike Tomlin need more love for that. Mike Evans needs more damn love for that too.
Yes.
Mike Evans is arguably one of the greatest wide receivers we've seen in this generation. He gets no love for that whatsoever.
It's one of my hidden weapons in fantasy football.
Oh, 100%. If you're looking for a receiver, grab Mike Evans like hotcakes, man. You know what made me laugh in the last 3 years? People have taken Chris Godwin over Mike Evans. And I'm like, you are crazy. Who catches the touchdowns, man? It's been Mike. Who made Johnny Manziel look good in college? That was Mike Evans, sir. No, that boy is otherworldly and deserves every bit of credit for being one of the best wide receivers in football.
Well, we had a listener text in and said, if Rodgers didn't want the attention, why is he doing McAfee in June? Just saying.
Okay, this is my argument, though, for everybody who says that. Because y'all say that as if he's doing it all the time, every week. This was a one-time interview that he hasn't done in months. He used to do a regular segment with them.
And he had the weekly.
Yes, used to. He has not done that in months. That hasn't been a thing on the show for a very, very long time. Now, and if we're going to go there are multiple athletes that go on McAfee way more than Rodgers does. So we cannot sit there and say that Aaron Rodgers is seeking attention because he goes on McAfee. And honestly, I don't know a single athlete right now that'll say no to an interview on the Pat McAfee show.
No.
So let's stop using that as an excuse of Aaron Rodgers wants attention.
It's like Rogan for NFL, but
exactly.
I've later in the show, I've got a hypothetical NFL trade summary I wanted to run by you because of obviously it has something to do with our teams and some interesting stories.
Kirk Cousins. Ship Kirk Cousins. We're starting it right now. Hashtag ship Kirk Cousins.
And what are we waiting on, man? If Ramsey doesn't want to be here, let him go.
You know what? Well, let's do a trade straight up. We'll take Jalen for him. You guys can have Kirk just in case Tua don't work out. I will take a straight trade right now. Jalen for Kirk. God,
you're throwing Pitts. I'll take it.
You know what? I'll take that too. This is the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back after we take this break. Welcome back. Early Bird Special, Hour 2. I'm in awe of the colors. I'm not going to lie to you. I like the shirts.
Or hopefully promotions
Sparky
can get them loaded up and we'll start giving these away.
For those of you looking at the video stream, we have some new shirts for you.
Yeah.
Some
thanks to New Generation Graphics.
Judgment Day colors. We got some SmackDown colors for you. We got some red ones too. You can call it the Raw shirt if you want to. I'm sticking with those though. I like that. The purple one looks really, really good. If we ever get to talk to Mommy, I'm wearing that. I have to. I have to.
Well, we will have Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike tomorrow, 7:30 in the morning. So get your questions in, and you can text them in 24/7.
We gotta talk Rodgers with him, dude. Like he's been on the same boat as us when it comes to this Rodgers situation. But I love his analogy of just it's weird to me that they literally sat there and waited months for a guy who's retiring. It's like, and you didn't even get his replacement.
Well, did they?
That's a good point. Maybe they do feel like Will Howard could be that replacement.
I mean, a year behind Rodgers, or maybe a week behind Rodgers.
Well, okay. Jordan Love, a boy right from here, has been behind Rodgers before, and I think he'd be the best one to talk to about this. And I have heard nothing but good things come out of his mouth about Aaron Rodgers. So there's no reason to believe that he's not going to help guys like Will Howard do. So maybe you're right. Maybe that is their plan, and they're just sitting there hoping and praying that Will Howard, the Ohio State boy, will be able to step up and be Ben Roethlisberger 2.0 after Aaron Rodgers inevitably retires next year, apparently.
But before we get into baseball news, we did get a text that a bold NFL prediction: Tua throws for close to 4,000 yards and 45 touchdowns. Fins up. I love you. Whoever texts that in.
Look, man, I'm all for it. I would love to see Tua do that. And honestly, we've seen flashes of him being able to do that. It just keep him healthy on the field. That's all I care about. Protect the quarterback, as our guy Daily Dave said yesterday.
I will say,
PTQ.
Seeing Tyreek Hill posting positive vibes sounds good. Just keep
Look, brother. I'm
your
sorry.
butt out of trouble, and we'll be fine.
Can I say? I'm not trying to be rude, but Tyreek Hill is like the really toxic girlfriend.
Yeah,
like he really is at this point. Like
almost every team has one.
No, absolutely. I'm not saying that everybody does,
and I'll stand behind it. If we're 2-4 in week 6, he's probably shipped.
Yeah, that's probably true. And I know you've said that on the show multiple times. So if that happens, we're gonna have to cut that audio because I only know one Dolphin fan that's called that, and that's this guy right here.
We'll see. And I'll bounce these hypothetical trades real quick before we get into some baseball news, which we have some baseball texts. Keep them coming. 842-2000. The first one, and these are 3-team NFL trades, which you rarely see. But the first one is between the Bengals, Colts, and Falcons, with the Bengals trading Trey Hendrickson to the Colts in exchange for Kyle Pitts, and the Falcons would receive DeForest Buckner.
Ooh, okay. I'm okay with that.
So
I'm okay with that.
Trey going to the Colts. Pitts.
I would prefer Trey if I'm being completely honest with you, because obviously you want the sack king. But
how weird would it be for the Bengals to trade their sack leader for another offensive weapon?
Again, is it really out of the ordinary, though?
No.
I think that's why I think Bleacher does a very good job at making these making their mock drafts and trades, because they take into account how these teams work and how they go about doing this type of stuff. Honestly, that's a trade I can honestly see happening if they could ever get it to work out in a 3-team.
You would take it?
I honestly would, because Atlanta needs help on the interior. Well, we need help on the defensive front in general.
And so do the Bengals.
DeForest Buckner is a monster, and I love watching him play. And honestly, he's always seemed out of place in Indianapolis, even though he's led that defensive front for them. So I'd love for him to come and do that in Atlanta. And honestly, I think the Kyle Pitts experiment is done. Yeah. I don't think it's worked out, at least not in Atlanta, and it could work out somewhere else. So why not have him go do that somewhere else?
I was hoping he'd come to Miami, but the second one is the Falcons sending Cousins to the Saints.
I have heard that.
Who would trade the Honey Badger to the Bills?
No.
While the Bills send Dawson Knox to the Falcons.
Heck no. So
you would clean up the salary space.
No.
You would get Knox.
First and foremost, would never trade to the Saints. ever.
Only if it was a three-way.
Interdivision trades don't happen. They don't, and they don't happen often. If they do happen, it is a very rare occurrence, and usually it's a team stealing something from the other. And no, you're gonna sit there. No, we don't get the honey badger. No,
Yeah, I don't want him in Buffalo.
no, I would prefer getting the honey badger, putting his butt right next to Justin Simmons, and having those two run around the field together, rather than getting Dawson Knox, the third string tight end. No.
So you take the first one, not the second one.
Oh, absolutely. Take the first one in the heartbeat.
So the third one would be the Dolphins trading Jalen to the Bears.
Okay.
And send their offensive tackle Braxton Jones to the Browns, while the Browns trade Greg Newsome, cornerback, to the Dolphins.
That's a lukewarm trade to me, but what do you feel? You're the Dolphin fan.
I mean, I would take the cornerback, but why? I mean, I would take the offensive lineman too. We need both. But I mean, for Ramsey, I'm thinking we'd probably get a higher draft pick or somebody more veteran. I would take Newsome in a hot second, though.
I'm actually surprised there is no draft capital mentioned in most of these, and maybe that's on purpose. Maybe they're just trying to think of it more of like a player for player kind of a thing.
Three-way, yeah.
Yeah. But that's why I'm like, I usually you would at least hear a second or third rounder thrown into these, because I agree with you. Like if you're throwing a guy like Jalen Ramsey into the mix here, sure, a body would help because obviously you need the cornerback help, but you got to throw in some draft capital for that too. We need some potentials down the line because Jalen Ramsey himself warrants more than just one guy.
And then the last one has the Dolphins trading Tyreek to the Cardinals, who would send offensive tackle Jonah Williams to the Giants, while the Giants trade what is his name? Is it Thibodeau?
Oh, Thibodeau or Kayvon Thibodeau?
Yeah, to the Dolphins, which I would jump on in hot second.
Honestly, that's not a bad trade for you guys because Kayvon Thibodeau is a underrated defensive end.
Number one is
combo.
Will they take the salary?
Yeah, that's the problem because he's going to be worth a lot of money. Because that's another guy that I honestly have been seeing on trade blocks that I'm sitting there thinking, ooh, Atlanta would look real nice with Kayvon Thibodeau. But it's if you guys could get rid of the Ramsey contract, I feel like it wouldn't be a bad move. But especially now that I'm thinking about it, though, you still got to pay Jonnu too. So I don't know. That's a very tricky trade to pull off.
And that's what they've been waiting on is the Ramsey trade so they could pay him. But if we can get Pitts for cheap, I wouldn't be mad.
No, absolutely not.
Can the guy block though?
No. And he can't get open either, so have fun with that.
Oh, great.
That's his biggest problem is apparently he's the only tight end of the league that's fast, but can't get open. I don't understand that. But
the last one, I know we're talking to Evan Cohen, but I figured you would have fun with this one, and maybe we'll bring it up tomorrow. But he was talking yesterday about, people comparing Rodgers to Jeter, and this is what he had to say.
We can never compare this man to Derek Jeter, which has happened now multiple times by multiple people on this show and on our network over the last 24 hours. If Aaron Rodgers is going to get a retirement tour, let him have it. I don't know who's going to celebrate him. Aaron Rodgers was better at football than Derek Jeter was at baseball. There is zero doubt about that. But to compare him to arguably the most classy professional athlete, the best teammate, arguably, that has ever existed in his sport in baseball is utterly ridiculous. Derek Jeter, again, was not as good of a baseball player as Aaron Rodgers was a football player. But the who of Derek Jeter, how it was portrayed amongst the sport, amongst the fans, amongst the media, was impeccable. And that is why that man had the send-off that he had. This is not, for Aaron Rodgers and his final year in Pittsburgh, a Derek Jeter-like send-off. It is not. Do we want to send him off? Do we want to celebrate him? Be my guest. Stop comparing Aaron Rodgers' send-off and finale to Derek Jeter. Red Sox fans celebrated Derek Jeter. I don't even know that the Packers fans would celebrate Aaron Rodgers.
To be honest, that's a very, very good argument. And okay, so I haven't really heard the comparisons of this being a Jeter-like retirement for Aaron Rodgers, although I guess I can see what they mean by that. My biggest argument against what he just said, though, is that Jeter wasn't as good at baseball as Rodgers is at football. That's kind of ridiculous. We're talking about the captain. We're talking about Derek Jeter. We're talking about the man. I don't know a lot of shortstops that'll be on anybody's list other than Derek Jeter. Like I cannot sit there and say Derek Jeter wasn't as good at baseball as Aaron Rodgers is at football. Maybe as an athlete, I could see you say that. Could Derek Jeter throw a baseball as far as Aaron could throw a football? Probably not. But that doesn't mean he's a better football player than Derek Jeter is a baseball player. That's a little bit of a ridiculous statement. But
it's just like if they win 4 or 5 games this season in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to remember those last few years of Rodgers.
I do, though, agree with him that nobody would celebrate him. This isn't that kind of a thing. Like, if he was still with the Packers, sure. Sure, you could say this is a Derek Jeter-like thing because, again, classy. He never left. He's always tried to make this team better, all that type of stuff. Totally could see that being a Derek Jeter-like send-off. But this dude left very, very unceremoniously out of Green Bay. I know for a fact there are a lot of fan bases still in the NFC North that would not celebrate this dude at all. Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota. None of those teams would celebrate him like that. I'm sorry. Maybe Minnesota, since they had interest of bringing him in, but the other two teams, you think Chicago fans are going to stand and cheer for Aaron Rodgers?
No.
Absolutely not.
Over the years.
Absolutely not.
But we'll take a quick break and we'll come back, get into some baseball news and another fan getting banned. We'll get into that and much more right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the early bird special. Marky's trying to funk it up a little bit.
Hey, you can hear me on Big FM 101.5 from noon to 6, Monday through Friday. And these songs are starting to add into my playlist.
I forget how much you love them. Oh man, we gotta talk a little baseball real quick because I have to commend a lot of people when it comes to this story. So first and foremost, love go out to the White Sox in Chicago in general because if you've watched baseball the last couple of days, you know this story of Ketel Marte, who look, we've talked about this on the show multiple times. I get that being a fan, you can get overzealous and you could say stuff and yelling stuff at at players is part of it, and I totally understand that. Let's leave it to hey, blah blah blah, you suck. Let's leave it to that, okay? Or like the fun quips. I know there's a guy online or on TikTok and stuff like that who does the you bum stuff. Love that guy. It's always classy. He never goes over or too far. That's fine. But for a Chicago fan to come to a game, look at Ketel Marte and say something about his deceased mother who died in a car crash in 2017, something so terrible that it broke a 31-year-old man and brought him to tears. Get over yourself,
Right.
dude. I don't care if this story says he felt remorseful. I don't care. What is wrong with you? Oh, you're 22 years old. And yes, I'm saying it. You're 22 years old. We got to stop giving people such a leeway because you're just 21. You're just 22. Shush. I was 22 years old. I knew exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
My friends know exactly what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
They just have no remorse for it because they're so young and they know they can get away with it. Stop that. Unless you're a teen or younger, I don't want to hear, oh, he's a kid. If you're 21 and over, if you can go buy a beer, no. There's no reason for that kind of ish, man.
There's a line.
Exactly. And I'm just like, it's ridiculous that you hear about this. But again, big kudos to the White Sox and stuff like that who apologized to it, went on their big board and said, we love you and all that type of stuff. Like they may have taken a little too far with that, but it is what it is. Like showing the love to him and saying, hey, dude, we're here with you. And thank you for the MLB as well for booting this kid from every stadium. This kid could not step in an MLB stadium for the rest of it or for indefinitely until they decide to let him back in.
And we had a listener say that the fan needs his butt whooped, first of all.
Absolutely.
That is just sick. And he said, how can they locate him if he goes to other games?
So they do have systems and obviously videos and stuff like that. So I get the point. Like you could technically mask your image and stuff like that. There's always the possibility of that. But for if he's ever figured out, he will be swiftly thrown out and prosecuted. This is not something that they will take lightly.
You'll probably catch a case.
Exactly. And honestly, this kid's smart. He won't show up to Wrigley or White Sox playing fields for a good long time, if not ever. You're done, dude. Like I don't know any fan that would be okay with that. And I saw a video of the managers for Arizona calling for him to be thrown out when it was said because they heard it too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, if I was sitting next to this kid, I'd call for this kid and say, nah, take this kid out of here. This is ridiculous. Like, don't you dare speak ill of the dead like that, especially someone's mother who died in a car accident. And honestly, you probably only feel bad because you figure that out after the fact. Because we don't know what he said. Nobody has reported what he said. And honestly, I don't think they will. There's no reason to report what was said. And probably is too vulgar to be said on television or anything like that anyway. But when I read stories like that, it bugs me to my core. Because it's like, dude, you know what you're saying. You know exactly what you're saying. And you said it on purpose because you probably thought you'd get a laugh out of everybody. You think it's okay to be like that. No, it's not. It's really not.
They said a fan in Cleveland was ejected for making inappropriate comments earlier in the season.
To Yarin Duran. And again, similar situation. Duran had an entire battle with his mental health last season in the 2024 season. He talks about it in that Netflix docu-series. And because the fan
you know what
knew
that one's called? Because I wanted to check that one out.
I think it's called In the Bull or oh god, I'll send it to you. It's like
Okay.
bullpen or something like that. It's literally like the story of the Red Sox. I'll send it to you today. But it's a fantastic docu-series, and he talks about how he struggled with mental health and how he almost committed suicide and stuff like that. And the fan used that as a jeer. And I'm like, dude, stop it. Are you serious? Like, I'm so tired of people making a joke out of this type of stuff. I really am. Like, this stuff is serious. You should not be using that as slander or anything like that. Mental health is very serious. We've been losing way too many people because of it.
And they open up for support, not to use against, but I mean, people are sick.
And again, there are, as much as there are people who are sick, there's plenty of people who fly out and support as well, much like ourselves. But it's just, again, if you're a fan at an MLB game or an NBA game, whatever your sport you fancy, and you are jeering at the other team or you want to throw some slander out there, I'm all for it. It's part of being a fan. I get it. You boo the other team. That's the whole point. But let's leave it to, hey, so-and-so, you suck. You can't catch a ball.
Right.
You throw a ball like a girl. Like, stupid stuff like that. Like, there's really no reason to take it further than
even
that.
Say that anymore.
I know, really. But I mean,
yeah,
we got guys
there's a line.
swinging on fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got fans causing issues during the game. Like, dude, and when I say he was brought to tears, I mean, they had to huddle up and he was bawling.
I saw the video. It was horrible.
Whatever this dude said must have been really bad. And honestly, there's no place for it in baseball. There's no place for it in sports. Like, and there's honestly no place for it in society.
Yeah.
We're done with you.
I've heard it from, contra goers. I've heard it from, even wrestlers that say, hey, dude, like, we are still human.
Yeah.
You know what
They're
I mean?
not monkeys, man. They're not robots. You're not looking at Chuck E. Cheese.
Not
okay.
Yet. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But at this point, like, dude, they're still human. Like, let's remember that. Let's remember that they do this to get paid just like you do your job to get paid. And I also invite people to remember, how would it be if you liked it that somebody sat behind you all day and told you how much you suck at your job? You hate it when your boss comes down on you and says that. Those of you who are listening to us right now probably do not care to go to work today because you know your boss is going to be mean to you, or you're going to be told you suck or something like that. Take it that way too. I don't know. It is what it is, man.
Yeah.
There are people out there. I'm not going to sit there and say it's impossible, but it's just, you got to take that into account too. Everybody's human. So let's leave it to, hey man, you suck at playing baseball.
Yes.
Not so-and-so's mom. Like, let's leave that out.
It's like my dad always made jokes, called us princess and cupcake, and
And don't get me wrong,
that, but
there are certain situations where that is absolutely warranted. There are certain people you are way too soft. I'm not going to sit here and say that it goes both ways. Some of you need to toughen up, and some of you need to actually soften up. We need to come back to the middle.
Right in the middle. But other news in baseball, the Red Sox pitcher Cutter Crawford will miss the remainder of the season following a wrist injury from what manager describes as a off-field accident. He was already sidelined with the knee injury since early 2024, looks like another pitcher down for Boston.
It's been a bad year for Boston. I know we talk about the Dodgers injury woes and stuff like that. Boston's having just as bad. I mean, Bregman's probably not coming back until after the All-Star game. So it's going to be interesting to see how this season wraps up for the Red Sox. And it sucks too, because Cutter was one of the more durable pitchers that they had. I mean, I think he played all of 2024 with an injury too, but from what Alex Cora has said, this is not something that they're going to actually like come back on him for. This was a complete accident. No one saw it coming, and the wrist injury will heal eventually. It's just real bad luck for the Red Sox. I know a lot of Boston fans that were looking forward to a good season this year. It just may take a little bit more from some of your young guys. I mean, you've called up a lot of the good ones. I know Roman's up there now. I don't know exactly how well he's doing. I haven't gotten a chance to look in a while. And then we just talked about Duran, who's doing great, but he's also on the trade block. Actually, I hear, and I'm just going to throw this out there, Philadelphia, if there really is some interest there for Duran, make the move. Make the move now. Give him Nick Castellanos. You could take Nick Castellanos. I'll gladly. Not that I hate Nick at all. Just the contract's a little bit too steep for the park, or for what we're looking for here in the next couple of years. So if you want to take him, we'll take the youngin, and we'll help him out. I mean, Philadelphia is great for the mental health. So
yeah,
Hey, man, it turns it around. I'm telling you right now, winning turns it around. And I will gladly help Jaron Duran win a championship. I think that would be great.
Well, we'll get into some more baseball news. Feel free to text in anytime, 661-842-2000. And we are also always streaming on the YouTube channel and Twitch under the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. Now, one day I might have a beard as long as these guys did. Might. You know what? My best friend for a long time wanted it. He grew it out pretty long, but he couldn't do it. He got to maybe about halfway up chest level. He's like,
Really?
"Nah, I can't do it." He had to cut it off. Too long. One good story out of baseball, though, before we switch over to a couple entertainment-related stories that we wanted to get to because we thought they were funny, and we would love to hear you guys' opinion on some of these. But Ronald Acuna Jr. announces that he will be part of the 2025 Home Run Derby. Thank God, someone else that can hit home runs. Oh, God. I am so tired of seeing the home run derby just filled with people who don't normally hit home runs. I'm a Philly fan, and last year seeing Alec Boehm in there instead of Bryce Harper, I said, excuse me. Wrong long-haired Philly boy. Like, not all long-haired white boys look the same. We need the guy with the beard, not the guy at third base. I don't know why we had Alec. I love Alec Boehm. I do. And last year he was hitting some good home runs. But the fact that we don't have the best home run hitters in baseball in the home run derby bugs me. I know they don't want to do it. And I know there's this entire stigma of, you do the home run derby, you probably will, your swing is going to suffer the second half of the season.
Yeah, you go cold,
which is entirely possible. But come on, man, it's the home run derby. It's literally the only part of the All-Star game that's fun. It
would definitely get more viewership.
It definitely would. And honestly, outside of the Futures game, I should say the Futures game too, because people like me who like to watch the young kids who might be playing for your team eventually, I like watching that game. But the home run derby it's the slam dunk contest. Like, that's what we want to see. That's what America literally comes to watch. So luckily, we will have Ronald Acuna Jr., who is one of the best home run hitters in baseball. And hopefully this is actually a 180, and this will ignite his swing even more, especially coming out of the injury and stuff like that. It'll get him on track. And you get Teoscar Hernandez, most likely, being the rating champion of last year, coming back to being one of the hitters.
And it's in Atlanta, isn't it?
I believe so. I'm hoping Pete Alonso comes back because for some reason, every time Pete Alonso does the home run derby, it's just ridiculous. I'm praying we get some people like Vladdy to sign up again too. We need some big names in it this year. I know you're not going to get Shohei again, which sucks.
That's what I was thinking. Or Judge.
Yeah, or Judge, which
that would be awesome to just see them too.
I was just about to say that. Do we just want to do that? Like, can we just have a standoff between the two of you, and then the rest of us will do our thing? Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see who can hit more home runs between Judge and Shohei.
And let him pitch to Judge.
I mean, that could be cool too. But I don't know. Again, it's a great sign, hopefully, that we get more big names in it this year. I know we're not going to get young guns like that Pete Crow Armstrong. He doesn't want to do it, but we need some big names in this thing to keep the dang All-Star game alive. Because as we've said on this show multiple times, every single All-Star game for every single professional sports league sucks.
Yeah, they might as well get rid of them if they're not.
Sucks so bad.
But my good news was the Giants CEO came out yesterday and confirmed that Barry Bonds will get his statue outside of Oracle Park.
Which Barry are we getting, pre-steroids or post-steroids?
Hopefully both. He's my
right
favorite
next to
Ninja
each
Turtle.
other.
Exactly.
One's a twig and one's the big old brute.
Hopefully by Willie.
Man. You know what? That would be nice. That would. I am also happy that he is a statue. It's very well deserved, though, the steroid and all that. But
we had two texts coming in before we get out of baseball. One said Clayton Kershaw goes for 3,000 Ks today at 12:40. Let's go Dodgers.
We were praying for it. I honestly didn't know if it was ever going to come, but here we are.
And the second one is the Mets went from the best record in baseball to falling behind the Phillies in less than 2 weeks. Do you think this is just a classic bad stretch, or do you think there is something deeper going on with the Mets?
So here's the thing. I am biased, obviously, but the Mets do this every year. The Mets are the Mets. They allocate money in weird areas. I mean, think about it. They put all this money into the pitching core a couple years ago with Scherzer and Verlander. That didn't work out. You had the DeGrom and Syndergaard era. That didn't work out. You put all this money into Pete Alonso and Lindor and stuff like that this year, not to mention Juan Soto. And honestly, to begin the season, they didn't look like they was going to work out. Then they got hot. Now they're back to not. It could be just a bad stretch, to be honest with you, for the Mets. I don't think so, though. I think there's something interiorly that just the Mets are not figuring out to become consistent. And honestly, it's still going to come down to, at the end of the year, it's going to come down to Philly and Atlanta. It has for the last couple seasons. And as much as, the media and everybody would love to see the mighty Mets back in the playoffs, I just don't see it happening. Not with this squad. So I don't know. But again, I'm slightly biased. I have a pee on my head as we speak. So when it comes to the East, it's always going to be Philly, in my opinion. But that's just me.
So entertainment wise.
So, yes, these stories that we have to get to. First and foremost, if you go to the AMC theaters, you'll laugh at this, because I've always laughed at this. And I've always wondered why it's so many dang commercials and trailers before these movies, right? Well, AMC has gone forward and said that they are now putting on their websites a warning right above all of your movie times that lets you know that, just so you know, movies start 25 to 30 minutes after the scheduled time that you bought the ticket for. Ergo, they're letting you know, yes, your movie starts at 7:30, but you're not going to actually start the movie until 8, because we got half an hour of trailers to show you until then.
Which is my favorite part. So.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree. And also gives you a 30-minute bumper to go actually into the movie. In places like AMC, where you have to go in and get a drink too, because I utilize the bar. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I love that.
I just I drink at home if I have to drink.
Well, no. But
I
just
never understood that part, and I know money wise have talked about the edibles are coming soon too. So
true. I like when they have the specialty drink. Like there's always like some crazy drink that comes with the movie. So I usually get that. Like I'll get weird looks sometimes because I don't care. I like the sweet drinks. I'll be the first one to tell you. If it's a harsh whiskey drink, I'll drink it too. But if it's something sweet like a daiquiri, I will enjoy the heck out of that.
I'm trying to remember what movie we saw, because we went out to the one in Rosedale, and they had specialty drinks for it wasn't Chucky, but that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like that when they base it off the movie. It might have been Black Panther,
probably
the Wakanda one, and they had some crazy ass drink, and the person in front of us had this like big ass head and had like pineapples coming out of it. I was like, wow, what is that?
It also goes with the crazy popcorn buckets you can buy now, which are awesome. Like some of these are really entertainingly cool. I saw the monkey. The monkey one.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally, you had the monkey from the movie, and it's holding your popcorn. And I was like, I was this close. I think it was like $30 for the box, or for the bucket itself. But I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I was like, it kind of feels like Disney, because when you go to Disneyland, you see those popcorn buckets that look really cool. You don't care how much they are.
No,
you're gonna buy it.
And I have a friend that's a manager at the Reading Cinema, and I didn't know until I met her, but the movie ticket sales, they don't go to the theater. They get like 1 cent.
No,
that's why the snack bar and now they're opening bars and stuff like that, is because that's where they make their money to keep the AC pumping that you enjoy during the theater. So
no kidding, especially since they have to pump it at 60 degrees for people to stay
I
awake.
love it, and I'm looking forward to that F1 movie.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I am very, very excited to see that one. I think that's the next one on my list as well, but I don't know. It takes me so long to get back to the theater sometimes.
Which was the last one you just saw with your mom?
How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Which, again, goof movie, but I enjoyed it just because I enjoyed the cartoon version of it. So
how's the graphics?
Very nice.
Really?
Very cool to watch.
That's
to be
what I
honest
wanted
with
to
you.
see.
Very realistic, and they stuck pretty close to what the dragons looked like in the cartoon as well. Although from what I read and what I saw is that they actually made practical versions of the dragons that they were going to use at first that looked more realistic. So they weren't going to look like the cartoon version. They were going to look more like as if they would look in real life.
I meant to ask our last guest about the 28 years later.
Yes, and I talked to a friend about that yesterday, because apparently there's a Power Rangers reference at the end of this movie that I need somebody text it in right now. If you've seen this movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But apparently at the end of this movie, there's a Power Rangers reference that everybody on the internet is freaking out about right now. No clue what it is or how it started or what the deal is, but I really want to know. I'm just very curious. And then the other major, or I shouldn't say major, but the other entertainment story that I have to throw out there real quick before we go to break. If you're a Spider-Man fan, at least a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man fan,
I am.
A unseen and extended cut of Spider-Man 2 will be scheduled to release in select theaters September 27th, 2025. Don't know exactly what's going to be added to the movie or what's going to be taken away from the movie. This is the one that I am kind of lukewarm on anyway. I mean, the Doc Ock movie was great, but I
liked all of the Spider-Man movies, but
don't really care for Tobey Maguire, if I'm being
I'm a
honest with
big
you.
Spider-Man fan. So,
Same.
and we got our tickets for Superman here in a couple of weeks down in LA.
So good.
For the 40X theater, which
So
if you haven't
good.
been to, you have to check it out. It's connected to crypto.com arena.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because that's a video I saw yesterday that I meant to actually bring up to you since we talked about the How to Train Your Dragon movie. You should probably go see that in that theater too.
Really?
That's what people were telling me, is that it's very much like being at a Disney ride, but it's cool because there are moments where they're flying on the dragons and you're flying with
and
them.
then the seat will fly with you. That's awesome.
So,
and then me and the family finished Daredevil Born Again last night. If you haven't seen it, I didn't watch the previous Daredevils, especially the movie, but we thought that was the first series, and we jumped into it, and that's a great series. And my favorite, obviously, is Kingpin, just because I go for the bad guys. But the dude that played Punisher,
John Barenthal,
that was also in The Bear and a bunch of other stuff. He's popping out everywhere, but he does that character so well.
So good. And honestly, I cannot wait to see more of him and other stuff too. But I'm sorry, for those of you who are wondering why I'm laughing on the video stream, he reminded me of the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, and I always forget how just
horrible.
No, again, it's
horrible.
It's the peak of 2000 cinema. It's nothing but edge, darkness, and just I'm so edgy and broody because every superhero has to be Batman to be cool. And it's like, dude, really? Like, and then you bring in the really hot love interest who ends up being a superhero too. And then Colin Farrell's the bad guy, and then Michael Clark Duncan is the Kingpin, and I'm like, oh my god, this movie is so awful. It's so early 2000s, and just now all of it is rushing back to my brain because I don't know, as a Marvel fan, I kind of washed that out when the new Netflix series came out, which you do need to check out if you haven't seen it. It will.
Is it the same actors?
Yes, it's the exact same actors, and it's a great series. You'll actually fall in love with Foggy, which will make the first episode very rough.
That'll make more sense then.
Yeah,
because I was like, who the hell is Foggy?
Yeah, no, see, that's why I'm like, see, this is what I'm saying. You need,
and at the end of Born Again, there is a bonus scene with Punisher, so you'd have to check that out. But we'll take a break. We'll wrap up the show and preview Fridays right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
we're back to the good ones.
I like the deep cuts,
These are good ones.
not
I love this song.
TRL ones.
I mean, that's fair. Honestly, that's honestly fair. I'll decide.
It was a cool video though.
Well, this is an awesome video. Honestly, they had some interesting videos in the 90s, though. I wish they would bring that back. I really do. Like, you have all this, like, maybe it's just too much now. Maybe it's too expensive for some of these recording studios to pay for CGI like that. But some of the videos back in the 90s were awesome, especially the 2000s, too. That was great. Real quick, before we get to our final stories of the day and run down what we got for you guys tomorrow on our Friday show, the AL leader at shortstop for the All-Star team. I just saw this come across my phone. I think this is awesome. His secret to success, the rookie, Mr. Jacob Wilson, video games. He says that he plays video games every morning and he'll see the ball better. He in this quote, he says, "Parents are going to hate me. I'm the big believer in video games. It's fast decision-making strategy. I'll wake up and I'll play video games and then I'll go to the field and I'll have a good day. Some days I won't play and I won't see the ball well." See, video games are good for something. Everybody gives millennials grief. You know, I said this yesterday. Millennials are going to be the first generation to go to our graves playing video games. And it's going to be awesome. I love to see somebody actually backing this, because granted, yes, video games are bad, especially in excess. Everything is bad in excess, but I agree with him.
I saw
Fast
that video,
decision-making skills,
and it could help definitely.
hand-eye coordination. Like, come on, man, you can't tell me that playing video games ain't gonna help you at some point.
I saw a guy driving his Cybertruck in autopilot while he was playing GTA yesterday.
Okay, now we're going a little too far.
While he was driving,
Learn from the Arenas crash, please. Let's not trust Tesla. I'm just saying. I mean, Elijah just came out yesterday and said he was fighting for time, quote unquote. Like, let's not trust the auto drive feature of Tesla.
I've been with my brother in his Tesla, and he showed me how the auto drive was, and it was kind of skittish, because when it got by big rigs, it kind of slowed down and went to the left off the lane. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But we had one last text that said, do you guys expect Skinner to be traded next, as they need a goalie?
It's entirely possible. Or Pickard. I could see either one of them getting traded, because they really split the season. They both of them started a fair amount of the games. Yeah, it was a real hot hand type situation. So if I'm Edmonton, obviously you're not thrilled with getting to the final 2 years in a row and losing both times, and you have to do something to catch up to the Panthers, because the Panthers are running it back. They're getting Marchand back, and they're running this back. It's going to be rough. Honestly, if I was trading anybody on this team, I'd be trading Perry. And it's not because Perry's not good. It's because Perry can get you some pieces, and I'm genuinely starting to believe there's some sort of curse around Perry. Like, you get to the Stanley Cup Finals 7 times the last 8 years with multiple different teams, and you lose every single one. Like, there's some bad juju around you, my friend. I don't know who put it on you, but there's some bad juju around that man. So Skinner would suck it would suck to see Skinner go. But I am the Edmonton Oilers, and I'm looking to make moves. I would say Perry would be first on my list to move. But I do agree. I think goalie is on that short list of things they need to address.
And some side news: Moorhead State will rename its football stadium in honor of NFL legend Phil Simms. And I also just saw the post from good old JR, Jim Ross. He is cancer-free.
Yay!
So we got some good news today. But I was going to bounce this off you, because both stories broke at around the same time. So the NCAA expanding college basketball season to 32 games starting in 2026-27. And the NHL Players Union are discussing a 84-game season in ongoing CBA talks, which would move, I believe, with hockey, it would add 2 games to the season, and NCAA would add 1 game to NCAA, and they're saying that it's not a requirement to add the 32nd game, but this move is pretty much to make more revenue opportunities for schools and especially with all the financial demands going on in NCAA, but also to aim at encouraging more high-profile games,
True.
non-conference games.
No, yeah, and obviously you would want to expand the season a little bit more to get these teams more what's the word I'm looking for? Exposure in different markets, prime times, yeah. But the NCAA, I always have a thought in the back of my head. It's like, okay, is this really for the schools? Is this for you?
Ding, ding, ding.
You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about making money for the schools, or we talk about making money for you? Because you have not had things go your way very often at all in the last couple of years if you're the NCAA. And they're probably looking for some way to get back into the fold here, especially since players are getting a lot of the brunt of the money now. So I don't know. I always approach things with the NCAA with a hint of skepticism, I guess is the best way to put it. NHL fans that are watching far more than I, how do you feel about this? I know it's not a huge leap, but do you think it's warranted to have 2 more games? Do you need 2 more games in the season? Like, does that really make that much of a difference in a way? Like, I would love to hear from some fans that, have a thought process on that as well. Text it in 661-842-2000. We may not get to them today, but we will see them tomorrow. They will be up there for us and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But the 82 games for basketball seems pretty long, and hockey, in my opinion, is probably the second biggest physically demanding sport you can find in America.
For sure.
So if it's long for basketball, which I would probably put 4th, maybe, because honestly, I think baseball at times could be a little more physically taxing, but
with that long ass schedule,
that's what I'm saying. But it honestly, like, is it warranted to have the 2 games? I don't know if it really makes that much of a difference. So I'd love to hear from somebody who watches the league a little bit closer than we do, and maybe it's something that's needed. But
and if you're looking for something to do this Saturday, we'll be out at the Battle of the Bartenders this Saturday from 2 to 6 at the Iron Lily.
Benefiting
Eventbrite. Yes,
right?
All money are raising money for Houchin as well. And I believe they still have the promo code BOGO Bob going on. If you want to buy one, get one for free. We'll be out there serving drinks, food,
punching tickets, and
tickets.
I don't know exactly what they got us doing, but we'll be there, and we'll shake your hand, talk to you a little bit.
As long as it's not a water slide this time, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't have to deal with kids, so we're okay. Not that I love kids. I shouldn't say that. Kids are great, and kids are the
Verdict
future.
loves kids.
But hey, whoa, pause.
But no, we'll have a jam-packed show tomorrow to wrap up the week. We'll start with Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike at 7:30, and then we'll have Chris Flell coming in promoting some shows. Plus, he's going to throw out his predictions to Saturday's Night of Champions, which is early.
Yes,
if you're waiting for 4 o'clock, it's at 10 a.m.
We totally meant to address that too, because we had a text message about that yesterday. Yeah, the show will be at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, tomorrow morning, Saturday morning.
SmackDown and Raw.
Yeah, so it's going to be an early day for you wrestling fans. I personally love it because it starts right when I get out of here, so I get to go enjoy SmackDown before I come back to work. But
what time SmackDown?
It'll probably be around noonish, around the same time. So it'll be midday. But
I'm trying to figure out if I am going to watch the PLE after the Battle of the Bartenders.
I'll have to watch it afterwards, to be honest with you.
I don't want to try to rush it and pause it.
That's my thought process too. I want to be able to enjoy it. But
so I have to stay away from KG while I'm there, so he doesn't blow it.
Well, he's not. I don't think our boy Kimball will be there. I'm pretty sure he's got other stuff going on that day. But join us back here tomorrow. Once again, Evan Cohen, Chris Flail. We'll have a great Friday show for you guys scheduled 7 to 9 a.m. as always. But until then, we got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Wow, I'm tripping over myself all over today. I apologize. Sparky, let's get out of here.